Okay, today we're going to do lesson 6.1, rate of change and slope. Rate of change is a relationship between two quantities that are changing. Okay, and rate of change is the change in the dependent variable. We've talked already that the dependent variable is y over the change in independent variable, and the independent variable is x. Independent variable is the one that you control. Okay, now the word change, I use a triangle to stand for change. In math and science, the delta, which is a Greek letter and looks like a triangle, stands for change. So change in y over change in x. Okay, we're going to use this table and we're going to find the rate of change. So we need to pick 2 points and find the change in y and the change in x. First question is, which one of these is x and which one is y? Well, which one do we control? Do we control the number of days we are renting the computer, or do we control the rental fee? We control how many days, right? If we change how many days we're going to rent it, the fee changes. They don't say, well, I'm going to charge you $90, and we say, well, okay, then I'll keep it for 3 days. It's the other way around. So the number of days is the one we control. That means that's the x, okay? And the rental charge changes when x changes. So we have change in y over change in x. Okay, so to get from 60 to 75, it changes by 15. Okay, because 75 minus 60 is 15. Okay, change in x, to get from 1 to 2, it goes up 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. Okay, so our rate of change is 15. What does the rate of change mean? Well, that means that you are charged $15 per day. Now, there's obviously an additional fee, but we're just asking what the change represents, and that's how much your price changes per day. Okay, we have a graph here, and we're going to find the rate of change using the graph. This is the altitude of an airplane that is as it's coming in for a landing. Okay, and they provided us with 2 ordered pairs. Okay, and as we know, ordered pairs are always x, comma, y. Okay, so we're going to do change in y over change in x, right? Okay, so I'm going to take my y value, 1,000. I'm going to subtract my y value on my other one, that's 0. Now for my x's, my x values are 60 and 180. And some of you might say, well, I'm going to do 180 minus 60 because 180 is larger. However, since we started with 1,000, we need to start with the one that goes with it. So we have to start with the 60 and subtract 180. Okay? 1,000 minus 0 is 1,000. 60 minus 80 is negative 120. And that simplifies down to negative 25 over 3. And it says, well, what does this rate of change mean? Well, that means that your altitude goes down or decreases 25 feet every 3 seconds. Okay, it goes down 25 feet. We know it goes down because it's a negative 25 over 3. Okay, slope, as I've said, is vertical change over horizontal change, or rise over run, or change in y over change in x, right? Okay, so to go from this point to this point, I'm going to go up through 2 units, and I'm going to go to the right 5 units. So the slope of this line is 2 over 5, or 2/5. Okay. On this one, to get from this point to this point, I go down 3 units, so I'm going to use a negative sign, and to the right 5 units. So the slope of this line is negative 3/5. Now, when you're dealing with a graph, know that from left to right, if the graph goes uphill, your slope is positive. And if your graph goes downhill, it is negative from left to right. Okay, so I would like for you to find the slope of each line on these two questions. So first, I want you to press pause, work it out on your own, and then when you're finished, press play and see how you did. Okay, let's see how you did. On the first one, from this point to this point, I went up 3 and right 5. So that means that my slope is 3 over 5. Because you always put the vertical change on top. Okay, and on my second one, I went down 1 and to the right 6. So it's negative 1 over 6. Now when I am using rise over run to figure the slope of each line, I always go from left to right. So the thing that determines whether it's positive or negative is whether I went up or down. If I went up, it's going to be positive, and that shows that my line goes uphill. And if I go down, it's negative, and that line should go downhill. You can actually use any 2 points on a line to find its slope. You use subscripts to distinguish between the 2 points. So we have x sub 1, y sub 1, and x sub 2, y sub 2, and I don't have p and q on this page, so I'm not sure what I've done wrong there, but that's okay. So you take the, this should be x, not y, but your subscripts need to match up, okay? So if you start with this one, you have to start with, on the top, you have to start with this one on the bottom, okay? Let's see. Find the slope of the line through A, negative 2, 1, and B, 6, 7. Okay, so I'm going to do change in y over change in x. I'm going to do the y from A first. I'm going to do A minus B on the top and the bottom. Okay, you can't switch them or you'll wind up messed up. Okay, so that's my y coordinate is 1, and I'm going to subtract my x coordinate, or my other y coordinate, excuse me, which is 7. That's on top. And I'm going to start with a again, negative 2, and I'm going to subtract 6. So that gives me 1 minus 7 is negative 6. Negative 2 minus 6 is the same as negative 2 plus a negative 6, which is a negative 8. Now I've got negative over negative. Those negatives cancel out, which is 6 over 8. And of course, that can also simplify into 3/4. So my slope there is 3/4. Okay, so now I would like you to work this problem and this problem on your own. So press pause, work them out, and then press play and see how you did. Okay, so how did you do? On this problem, 2, 5, and 4, 7, I decided to do D minus C. So I started with my y coordinates, 7 minus 5, right here, and then 4 minus 2, right here. 7 minus 5 is 2, 4 minus 2 is 2, 2 over 2 is 1. So that means that the slope of this line would be 1. Okay? And on my second problem, I decided to do P minus Q. So I started here. 4 minus a negative 2 and negative 1 minus 3. 4 minus a negative 2 is just like 4 plus 2, which is 6. 1 minus 3, or excuse me, negative 1 minus 3 is the same as negative 1 plus a negative 3, which is negative 4. Okay, I simplified that to negative 3 over 2. Okay, when you have a horizontal line or a vertical line, okay, we're going to look at what slope is for those, okay. This example shows why the slope of a horizontal line is 0, but the slope of a vertical line is undefined, okay. So no slope means it's undefined. You can't find a slope. And 0 slope means it's flat. Now think about that. If the slope is flat, you could walk on it with no problem, right? It takes zero extra effort to walk on a flat surface. However, we are not Spider-Man, so we can't walk up a vertical surface. So that is an undefined slope. That is not a slope we can deal with, okay? So let's actually do this problem with the ordered pairs given. We've got change in y over change in x. I'm going to start with this point and then do that one. So it's 2 minus 2 over 4 minus 1. 2 minus 2 is 0. 4 minus 1 is 3. 0 divided by 3 is 0. A flat line has 0 incline, 0 slope. Slope is 0. All right, let's do this one. 4, 2, and 4, negative 1. Change in y over change in x. Okay, 2 minus a negative 1. It keeps connecting my lines there. Let's see if I can make that better. 2 minus a negative 1. Okay, and then down here, I've got 4 minus 4. 2 minus a negative 1 is 3. 4 minus 4 is 0. You cannot divide by 0. You can't do it, so don't try. Undefined. Because we are not Spider-Man.